Hello, everyone. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill celebrates 1 year in office as head of government after the general elections. That's on August the 3rd. The same also for parties which were part of that coalition initially. But support for Peter O'Neill since has been unprecedented. Such has been the shift from the opposition that its leader Belder Nama said he was prepared to be a one-man opposition. But apart from bolstering its numerical strength on the floor of Parliament, can the O'Neill-Dion government boast of delivery on its pillar policies? To discuss some of these issues with us is the Prime Minister himself. Sir, thank you for taking time to come on this program. 12 months and being Prime Minister at the very top, a pressure-packed position, but you look relaxed. What am I reading? A content Prime Minister?
Well, thank you, John, and thank you for having me here today. And of course, I feel that 12 months just went like very fast.
Okay.
We believe very strongly that there's a lot more to do and that we're just starting. So there's a lot of work ahead of us.
5 years, many years ahead.
I hope many years ahead. Of course, we'll do our part and we'll move on, and hopefully we'll lay the right foundations for our country's growth and development into the future. And I think over the last 12 months since elections, we have been generally doing laying the foundations for us to make sure that we roll out many of our specific programs that we have committed to the nation when we went to the elections.
You had some key policies that you started off with at the election time. How are they? The education, health, and all that stuff.
Yes, well, thank you, John. I think the country knew what they were voting for when they voted for a party to come and form government. We committed to a very strong education policy, meaning that free education was going to be entrenched and strengthened into the education system of our country. From next year onwards, it will be compulsory, meaning that every child must be in school from years when they are about to go to elementary school all the way up to year 12.
Is the money going out to them? There are some reports that the money isn't going. What's going through is not being accounted for. How's that?
The monies have been rolled out to all the schools quite well, except some schools who do not have the accounts.
Okay.
But our education officials are working hard with the schools, board of governors, and the school's management team in making sure that those school fees that are supposed to go to the accounts, proper accounts are established, proper acquittals have been established, so that we account for these big chunks of money that we are rolling out.
Yeah. Is there any penalty provisions put in place for schools that don't comply? Because once they do that, it's the kid who's going to be affected at the end.
Precisely, and I think the parents and the board of governors and the teachers must take ownership. The other issue that we are now starting to work on is to try and of course get the recommendation of the outcome-based education program.
Yes, yes. Have you got that? Father Young Chuba was doing that report.
Yes, the chairman has done an excellent job, made some very strong recommendations.
You haven't made it public, sir.
Yes, we are trying to make sure that we table it on the floor of Parliament, but the Cabinet is going to deliberate on it. We are just rolling out some of the prints. Over the next few weeks, we will make it public, but very specific recommendations have come out of that. That would mean that we have to now do a new curriculum so that we can be able to fund it, making sure that we go back to basics, teaching kids from elementary school all the way up to year 12 in English, making sure English, maths, and science.
No local languages?
Local languages, our community must take ownership of that.
Okay.
The parents must take ownership. That's their responsibility.
Right.
They must teach the kids the culture, the language. We can't just continue to depend on government to do everything.
Okay.
Government does only Karamal Piginini come to this world. We all must participate in making sure that that child is given every opportunity that this country can offer.
What does, without giving too much away, does Young Chuba recommend against OBE?
Of course.
He does.
Of course. And
we're going to do away with that.
That has brought to the decline of the standard of education in our country. Many of our young kids cannot speak proper English, cannot write well, cannot do proper maths. This is an indication of a curriculum that has really destroyed our education system. So the recommendations are very, very clear. So as government, we have listened to all the parents, all the teachers out there. I have traveled many parts of the country, And they have basically stated to us that they wanted this to be thrown out and a new curriculum. Let's go back to our whole system. So we are going to do that, and I think in education we are also going to now roll out an infrastructure development program.
Okay.
From 2014 onwards, we'll put some funding directly. We know that the numbers are increasing. So we'll start building classrooms, we'll start building teachers' houses. We are also increasing the number of intakes in the teachers' colleges and the University of Goroka so that we can increase the quality of teachers and their ability to teach. We're also trying to reintroduce the Teachers in Service program, which used to be 6 months program, every school holidays, so teachers upgrade their skills. We used to do all these things before, but somehow we've allowed it to collapse.
Okay. Now what about teachers themselves? And I'm sure all teachers like Arim Display, pay belong all, condition belong all. That's something that they cry loud.
Last week, Cabinet has directed the Public Service Minister talk to both the Public Employees Association and also the Teachers Union and all the unions that represent the public servants who work for us, including teachers, to renegotiate the terms and conditions of their pay, their housing allowances. All this will be negotiated before November budget. So we are trying to make sure that we capture any adjustments before the budget is introduced so that we can configure it into the budget.
What about overseas teachers? Are we looking at that too?
We are working with our development partners in trying to bring some English teachers into the country through some of the volunteer programs that is happening. In fact, the volunteer program with the British government, some of the young kids who are now coming into teaching English in some of our remote schools throughout the country. These are happening as we speak.
Let's move on a little bit, Prime Minister. Law and order.
Young women and women population, our children especially, they must be growing up in a country where law and order provides a peaceful environment. Now, that is a huge challenge. We have seen the decline of our policing work throughout the country, a declining of our court systems throughout the country. So our government, when it got into office, we have reopened the Bomana Police College. For 10 years, we did not train one policeman. For 10 years. Now, many of our policemen are getting older. We have got no replacements to go and replace these policemen. I think last year we graduated close to 300 policemen and women. This year, I think the numbers are going up to 700. We are trying to increase that out to 1,000. So numbers of policemen over the last 2 years, including next year, will close to be another 2,000 policemen joining our police force. So we are increasing the numbers, but we want to increase the quality of police work. On law and order, we are also now working with the judicial system in recruiting more judges. We have now, Cabinet has approved increasing of the number of judges. And of course, we are also using the Australian Development Assistance to bring more judges on the bench. I think 4 are now working with our national coach.
From Australia into PNG?
From Australia into PNG. I think 4 are already starting to work. So we are expanding our judges. At the same time, we are rebuilding of course, the lower courts, magistrates courts.
Yes, yes.
We are doing one big one here in Port Moresby. You know, Port Moresby Magistrates Court and Borokwa Magistrates Courts and Wagani courts are all over the place.
Yes, yes.
So what we're trying to do is build one that is going to hear all the cases, making sure that everything is recorded properly, judgments are prosecuted, prosecutions are done well, judgments are recorded. We're also trying to do an exchange program where we're trying to send our policemen to go to places in Queensland.
Okay, we know there's a time frame. We've got 50 coming up here, Tulay and Port Moresby.
Yeah.
Do we have a number going down to Brisbane of our men?
We are just finalizing the details with the Queensland government. That exchange program has not kickstart yet, but our police commissioner is talking with the commissioner of police in Queensland. There have been a few visits back and forth, so I don't see that program delayed any further. It will be rolled out very soon.
Okay, so we'll go to one of your other pillar policies. Before we do that, William Kapis.
Yes.
He was arrested and apparently died in the process. Your comments on that?
It's unfortunate that this has to come to this kind of an end. But he was imprisoned. He has committed a crime. He should have served his time, and making sure that he paid the penalties that the society and the laws have enforced on him. But it's unfortunate that it had to reach this kind of end. But our sympathies to everybody especially the families who have been affected by this event. And I hope it doesn't repeat itself again in the future.
Okay. All right. Does it raise a flag at all about CIS and its ability to contain prisoners within the prisons, security, all that?
We are concerned about it. We have got an internal review process going on. We are also trying to strengthen the management of this CIS programs and prisons throughout the country. Again, as part of the agreement that we recently signed with the Australian government, they have agreed to bring in personnel into coming and helping strengthen the management of these prisons throughout the country. And we are, at present now, the government is reviewing that.
Okay. We'll look at quickly another sector of our disciplinary forces, and that's defense.
Yes.
They are, by the nature of their work, very strong people.
Yes.
And when they attack citizens and things like that, it becomes a concern.
Yes.
The students and the defense force soldiers scuffle, fight, whatever one might call it, recently.
Yes.
Your views?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that individual cases like this situation that took place at the medical faculty, where other soldiers become involved. That is unnecessary, unwarranted in our society. We must maintain the highest form of discipline, especially the disciplinary forces, Defence Force, Police, and CIS. Yes. We cannot go in there and take sides and allow this kind of rampaging to take place. So I want to commend the command structure of the Defence Force and the Defence Minister especially, who has gone out there and take a very proactive stand, that the discipline must be implemented quickly, on time, and that has happened where now a few soldiers have been arrested. We have an investigating team now investigating not only the Defence Force, but also the other parties who were involved, the students. Yeah. We don't know the circumstances, we don't know why this thing happened, but we must get to the bottom of it.
Yes, yes.
And
Tokam Kanini, you confront these?
Tokam is a very mature, experienced colonel, and he will do the right thing. He's a very long-time serving policeman, defense colonel, and I have no doubt that he will do a very thorough job.
Okay. Prime Minister, police brutality, what happens to police? CIS thing, William Caprice, and the recent Defence Force thing, all those discipline forces, they happened under your watch,
yes,
all at the one time.
Yes.
And you say you're doing something, but it happened there.
Yes.
It's
well,
timing, is it?
You know, when you have systems of government, and especially these institutions, been run down for many, many years, you expect these things to happen. We've allowed it to go to this level of neglect. We've allowed all our infrastructure to be run down. We've allowed all our systems to be corrupted. Now we're trying to rebuild from ground zero. And the onus is not only on political leaders, but also on public service leaders and every other citizen in this country, that we must work together in making sure that our systems of government work. If it doesn't work, we will have a situation where it's chaotic.
Let's get on to infrastructure.
Yes.
Again, one of your pillar policies, I think, and let's get on to Lay Hospital.
Yes.
You had some good news from
yes.
Australia that especially Angao is going to get that facility that it longed for a long time.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we have done since we got into government is to provide funds directly to the hospitals, especially the referral hospitals. For the first time in our country's history, we have been able to fund from budget by naming the hospitals, like Port Moresby General Hospital, Angao Hospital, Medan Hospital, Goroka, Hagen, Boram, and of course Nonga. Those 5 referral hospitals are very key because they serve quite a large population. So when we took office, government in 2011 and in 2012, we started to fund them directly. So with those funds now you can see a lot of improvements taken in many of these hospitals. Of course they are slow, again because we have not been able to manage them well in the past. But if you go down to Port Moresby General Hospital today, as we speak, the biggest hospital in the country, you will see a difference. Yeah. You will think that you are in one of the hospitals in Cairns or Townsville or Australia anyway. You go down and have a look at it. That is not with anybody's help. Only PNG government, through a good board and a good management team, good staff, we are able to achieve that kind of quality. It is a start, but we're starting in the right direction.
Okay.
So that is why, while we are continuing to maintain the services and do maintenance for Enga Hospital, we have agreed now that we will build a new hospital for Lae City.
Does that mean Enga will get a completely new hospital?
Completely new hospital. Next week, the Australian team that are here, they will travel down to Lae with our people to start designing, to start talking to where the hospital can fit, how we can build a new hospital in Lae. But at the same time, we are sending some people there now to look at immediate needs, including renovations, to keep the hospital going.
Yes, yes.
While we are building
we
are building a new one. We are restructuring the drug delivery system. We are working closely with OSAID in making sure that drugs are now delivered door to door in all the 8 posts, all the health centers, and all the hospitals throughout the country.
What about health authorities in the provinces? We have about 3 or 4. The whole country the thought is that the whole country should have authorities. How will they make health services more efficient than it is today under the present arrangement?
We are looking at those 3 authorities that are already in place to see how effective that has been rolled out. But there are some problems, I cannot deny that. But it's no point going and creating new structures and new institutions because one is not working. We have to make sure what we have works. If it doesn't work, why is it not working?
Yeah, no. What about the amendments?
Yes.
You have created a bit of issue there. You're comfortable, and you're the Prime Minister. You've got 18 months. You're comfortable.
Yes.
And the way you're going, you probably will be there for the 5 years.
Yes.
Why this change? Why these amendments that are creating a bit of comment around the place? Is it necessary?
Firstly, the amendment on the number of days. The Constitution says Parliament must sit 9 weeks. 9 weeks. The amendments we are proposing will sit 9 weeks. And parliaments will normally sit from Tuesday to Friday. But when the court interpreted that, it says no, Parliament must sit 7 days, which is impossible. We can't sit on the weekends.
Yeah.
So we are saying that for that 9 weeks, we're saying that we will sit close to 45 days. And that is the amendment. We are reducing the interpretation of the court so that we make it more workable. So it is not as if we are trying to change what is in the Constitution. We are trying to make it practical. Okay. That is that sitting days are from Tuesday up to Friday. And the total amount for 9 weeks is close to over 40 days.
Yes,
so
yes.
So I think there's a misinterpretation on that. Yeah. But second thing I want to talk about that is no government in the past has ever met 63 days. Okay. So that is on the extension. On Section 145, which is the vote of no confidence, nobody is removing the vote of no confidence. The vote of no confidence provision is still there. What we are changing is very simple. Those who want to put a vote of no confidence, now you can have 14 members to sign up. So we were saying that 1/3, meaning the 37 members. Few of our leaders and few of our members and our caucus said, listen, no, that's 37 is too many. So now we've come down to 21. So 21 members must put a notice to the Parliament, to the Speaker, so that a vote can take place.
All right.
That's what we're saying. The second issue is you can give 2 weeks notice. That's what we're saying. So that you signed by 14 members and 2 weeks notice.
And today, how many weeks?
We were
notice?
proposing that it'll take 3 months so people can debate it properly. Mm-hmm. But many of our leaders and members said, no, 3 months is too long, so we bring it back to 1 month. So it means 21 members to sign the motion and 1 month's notice.
Okay.
Now, what is unfair about that when you think that you're trying to do the most important thing in this country, changing a government? Isn't that supposed to be serious? Is it something that we just continue to play along? How we have been playing along over the past 40 years, the result, we see it in front of our eyes. We have not been able to manage governments properly because we are too busy playing politics. That is why it is very important for the country that we must have a stable political environment where the country can continue to grow and develop. So 21 members to sign up and 1 month notice. That gives people, the country, the opportunity to debate, talk to their leaders, that don't make this kind of decisions by changing government because you want to change because somebody has got a big checkbook
Okay.
and running around with that kind of environment.
Yes.
We need to change governments for the right reasons.
You've gone through the first reading, and there is no doubt that this will become, the amendment will get through.
Yes.
The other fear in that is once that goes through, and you are already a very powerful person, sir, and with the kind of support you have on the floor in government. And the fear is that with that power, with that kind of support, what else might you be thinking? That's the perception out there.
A prime minister is voted by members of parliament. Members of parliament are still in control on what that prime minister does. You still need numbers to pass a budget. So members, if they feel that a prime minister or government is going wrong, they can stop the budget. Or they can vote, the caucus can say, we no longer have confidence in you, you don't have the numbers, and you don't have our support, prime minister, you should resign. Then the prime minister resigns. So all these provisions are there for us to utilize so that if a prime minister is not running the country in the best interest of the nation, then it must be replaced. I agree with that. Everybody else agrees with that. And I don't think that, I'm now in government for 2 years now, before the elections and now. I think Papua New Guinea knows my style of managing the affairs of the country. I'm not that sort of person who is too aggressive out there trying to use the system to try and entrench myself in power. I'm quite happy for us to limit the number of terms when the Prime Minister should serve down to 10 years or even 5 years. I'm open to that. I know that I'm not going to be here forever, but I must do what is right for the country while I'm here.
Okay. The asylum thing on Manus. Yes, we know your style of leadership. You threw in a surprise on that one.
It's not a surprise. Asylum processing facility we already have.
Okay.
It's established in Manus. It's been operating for the past 12 months. It's operated before. It's not a new thing. We started in 2006 when the Howard government asked us. Then the Rudd government asked us to close it down. We closed it down. Gillard government came back and asked us to reopen it. We reopened it. Now the Rudd government is asking us to expand it, to take more people in there. So we are expanding it. So it's not a new thing that people think that we were trying to introduce into the country. But I think the misconception is that that we will resettle these people in Papua New Guinea.
Yes, that is the perception.
That's the perception. We are signatories to the United Nations Convention for Refugees. Papua New Guinea is a signatory. We will work with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, telling them...
Prime Minister, let's take this argument. Say if a group wanted to stay here, how many, will we take all of it or just the group? That decision is ours or what happens?
That decision is entirely ours. We will now, they will be now subject, like any other foreigner.
We can refuse them.
We can refuse them.
Okay.
They must comply with our law. How we give citizenship to foreigners. We must process them through the United Nations Convention and guidelines.
All right.
So it doesn't mean that they automatically come and settle here. We are going to process them, and I can assure you that majority of them would want to go back to their country. Majority of them. There are a few genuine ones. Of course, we will talk with other countries and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to process them and find them a country to settle. If we think that they do not suit our country's environment for them to settle in our country, we will ask the other countries to take them on. Okay. That is our obligation as a signature to the United Nations Convention on Refugees.
Okay. But at the same time, are we complying with our laws in doing that?
Absolutely. We are going to process everything under our law. Nobody is going to be outside that law. So the immigration laws, our constitution must be fully complied with. So I think when we talk about that fear of some foreigners with some background coming, undesirable background coming and settling in our country, it will take years to process it. It will take years to process it. So we will work it through our system of government, we will work it through our laws, so making sure that we do the right thing for the country.
Okay.
I know that it gives us a unique opportunity to fund some of our projects that we as a government cannot do it ourselves.
All right. Yeah.
This opportunity is there, and the Australian government has agreed to.
Yeah. I know that you haven't come up with a figure on this. You still won't,
But it will be
or you can't.
It will be in hundreds and millions of kina.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they have to now go and do a study and design Enga Hospital. After the design, they will know the costing. Now they're sending a team to do the Ramu to Medan Highway. That's almost 100 kilometers. They will have to do the costing on that. Building a new courthouse here in Port Moresby for the magistrates, big courthouse. Now that will be designed and fully costed as well. So these things will take time and fully costed. So it's not as if these projects are going to be started today and finished today, because there's no drawings, there's no design. But it'll start now. We are starting to implement it as we speak.
Okay. Prime Minister, we are pushing on time here. The Prime Minister's charity organization, tell me a bit about that.
Yes, we are, well, to celebrate our first 12 months in government, what we are doing is that instead of raising money for political parties, we are starting to raise money for charities. Many charities throughout the country cannot have the exposure to go out and raise funds that they want to run the charities that they are doing it for our communities all throughout the country. So the Prime Minister's charity is to basically raise funds and give that funding to the charities that we think are delivering to helping our needy in many communities throughout the country. So we are hosting that on the 3rd of August this year, which is exactly 1 year since we got into office. Okay. And of course, the funds that we raise in that money, the funds that we raise in that charity gala, will now become an annual event. Okay. So I'm certain that there are many companies and many individuals out there who do not want to give money to politicians, but they are able to give money to a charity for a good cause.
Okay. Is there a charity organization close to the heart of Peter O'Neill?
Well, education is very close to me. I grew up in a village, and I started grade 1 in a village school. So I think education will get some priority. But of course, there are cases where some individual kids who come with very bad medical conditions individually, and I've been trying to help them out through our community development fund, from the gaming fund, trying to get them operations and medical attention so that they can lead a better life. So those are specific cases that interest me a little bit, and I think with the Board of Trustees we can be able to make a difference in someone's life.
All right, sir, we are running out of time. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Always a pleasure.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. This has been Tok Piksa. Another edition of the program at the same time next week. For now, thank you for watching.